Welcome to an explainer that goes, well, a little deeper than usual. Today, we're stepping right into the fascinating and, honestly, sometimes uncomfortable world of human psychology. We're about to take this deep dive into the very mechanics of how we perceive our own minds. So get ready, because the concepts we're exploring today are absolutely going to challenge how you view intelligence, certainty, and, ultimately, yourself.
The smartest person in the room rarely thinks they're the smartest person in the room. The loudest one, though, they usually do. Just let that sit for a second. We all know that loud guy in the room, right? The one talking over everyone, dominating the whole conversation, just exuding this absolute certainty. Contrast that with the quiet intellectual sitting in the corner, taking it all in, observing, calculating. It's a dynamic we see literally every single day in boardrooms, at family dinners, and especially, for sure, on the internet. Okay, let's dive into this. Because in the next few minutes, actually, scratch that. I'm not going to talk about those people. I'm not talking about your overconfident coworker or that loud uncle at Thanksgiving. I'm going to talk about you and me. Because this isn't an explainer about spotting stupidity or arrogance in other people. It's a mirror. We're flipping the lens inward today. And, mirrors are only truly useful if you're brave enough to actually look into them.
So, back in 1999, psychologists David Dunning and Dunning-Kruger ran an experiment that fundamentally changed our understanding of the human mind. They uncovered something profoundly uncomfortable. The less competent someone is at a skill, the less able they are to recognize their own incompetence. And here's the absolute kicker. It's not because they're lying. It's not because they're being intentionally arrogant. Their brain simply lacks the tools to see the gap in their own knowledge. Ignorance, as it turns out, doesn't feel like ignorance. It feels exactly like confidence. Picture this gap. On one end, you've got this line just rocketing upwards, representing sky-high confidence. But on the other end, a line completely flatlining at the bottom, representing low confidence. This gap right between the two, that is the hidden reality. That's the trap. And the truly terrifying part of this whole psychological phenomenon is that you can't feel yourself falling into it. Because your brain is actively shielding you from your own blind spots, you can be deep, deep in this trap, while feeling completely 100% assured of your own mastery. So what does this all mean for us? Today, we're taking a different approach. We aren't going to just list signs for you to judge someone else by. We're building a checklist together, a real self-audit based on the Dunning-Kruger effect. Think of these as 5 metaphorical mirrors. I want you to look into each one honestly as we go through the list. Let's just slow our pace down a bit and be really deliberate here. By the time we hit the end of these 5 mirrors, you're going to know exactly where you stand.
All right, mirror number 1, sign 1. You are rarely wrong. Well, at least in your own minds. Truly competent people, like genuine experts, they carry doubt with them everywhere. But they don't carry it as a weakness. They use it as data. It's a tool for calibration. If you navigate through your personal and professional life constantly feeling like your initial gut reaction take is always the correct one, yet that is a massive red flag. Think back to the last real argument you had. Not a tiny disagreement over where to get lunch, but a real, substantive argument. How did it end? Did you walk away thinking, I might have missed something there? Or did you walk away thinking, wow, they just don't get it? If you can't even remember the last time you genuinely changed your mind because someone made a better point, that isn't a sign of unshakable intelligence. That's a sign that the door to your own learning closed a very long time ago.
Let's move to the next mirror and see how this builds. Sign 2, you stopped asking questions. Put a beginner and an expert in the exact same room. The beginner usually just kind of nods along, right? They're terrified of looking uninformed or foolish. But the real expert, they're the one in the room still asking why. Curiosity isn't something you're supposed to just grow out of as you get smarter. It's literally the engine that should grow alongside you. The moment you feel like you already know enough to stop asking questions, that isn't mastery. That is the exact ceiling Dunning and Kruger were warning us about. It's the limit of your own progression. So ask yourself and be brutally honest here. When is the very last time you asked a question that you were actually afraid of the answer to? Because if you're only asking the safe questions, you aren't actually learning.
Okay, sign 3. And I'm going to warn you, this one probably stings the most. You confuse confidence with competence. If your absolute certainty about a topic has never once been shaken by new information, that isn't expertise talking. That is simply an absence of exposure. It means you just haven't explored the topic deeply enough to realize how complex it actually is.
And this brilliantly illustrates the divide we see every day, doesn't it? Loud confidence versus quiet competence. Confidence is loud. It needs to be seen and heard by everyone. Competence is often incredibly quiet, mainly because it's acutely aware of everything it still does not know. Real knowledge comes with edges. These boundaries where a true expert will look you dead in the eye and say, "I don't know," without even flinching. If you can't find those edges in yourself, you need to look harder, because they are there. Mirror number 4. Sign 4. When something goes wrong, your very first instinct is to look outward. The market was rigged. The teacher was unfair. The team was incompetent. And hey, sure, sometimes those things are actually true, but we're looking for a pattern here, not just a single incident. If failure is always someone else's fault, you have successfully built a psychological shield. It's a shield that perfectly protects your ego, but entirely blocks your personal growth. True growth requires a moment of intense discomfort. It requires you to sit down and ask yourself, what did I get wrong here? How did I contribute to this failure? If that question rarely or just never crosses your mind, that silence is a dangerous pattern and it is absolutely worth listening to. And finally, we hit sign 5. This is the quietest one, which is exactly why it might be the most dangerous. You've stopped learning and you didn't even notice. This doesn't happen because you woke up one random Tuesday and decided to quit learning. It happens because success, routine, and just a comfortable life slowly convinced you that you had already arrived. So when was the last time you deliberately put yourself in a situation or sat with a really complex problem that made you feel like a complete beginner again? That vulnerable, slightly frustrating feeling of just not knowing how things work. If you can't remember the last time you felt that way, do not mistake that feeling for stability. That isn't stability. That is stagnation, quietly wearing the mask of mastery. So, the crucial point here is to take a step back and look at this full self-audit we've just built. The 5 mirrors: being rarely wrong in your own mind, having no real questions left, allowing loud confidence to stand in for quiet competence, pointing the finger of blame outward instead of inward, and allowing your learning to quietly grind to a halt without you even noticing. It is a tough list to look at. But here's the truth nobody really wants to hear. The fact that you're still watching this explainer, still willing to look in the mirror and engage with these hard truths, that already puts you light years ahead of most people. Because at the end of the day, genuine intelligence isn't about knowing more facts than everyone else in the room. It isn't some closed room where you hold all the answers. Genuine intelligence is an open horizon. It's staying humble enough to know deep down that you do not know everything. It's about being entirely comfortable with your own mental blind spots and allowing real psychological growth to happen. If you felt a little, sting of recognition during this explainer, I want you to reframe that feeling right now. That discomfort you just felt watching this, that's not a flaw. That's growth knocking on the door. It means the mirrors are working. It means your mind is open enough to recognize its own edges. You should be incredibly encouraged by that discomfort. So I'm going to leave you with this final thought, a challenge to take with you into your daily life. The next time you find yourself in an argument or facing a tough problem and you feel that rush of absolute unshakable certainty, will you have the psychological discipline to hit the brakes, slow down, and ask yourself, what am I missing? Stay curious, stay a little unsure, because that is exactly where true intelligence lives.